I love that for you. I'm so hungry right now.
Oh no.
And with that, we are live on the internet.
All
We are
right.
hungry right now. Hello,
Yeah.
world. We are
Student.
hungry for inspiration on this beautiful December night. Last week and the week before, we pulled the sage. Uh, the truth will set us free. Um, the ancestors were very intent on us maintaining the sage as our guide. While I'm shuffling, anybody care to share uh, thoughts about the sage and the wisdom that showed up around that in the last couple of weeks?
Hmm.
Ooh, I'll go. I've got a really top of mind one. I was
Awesome,
so
go for it.
inspired by our Facilitators Academy session this week and really found myself gathering wisdom from others, and appreciating, I think, a lot of the sagely beings around me and us. And also taking time to yet again appreciate you as a sage leader, Emily. That was top of mind last week. And that's really what comes to mind for me. And then also listening to internal wisdom came up last week with health and trying to tell myself and then manifest that I can balance everything, my work and my health. And so far, so decent.
I love that. Thanks, Nina. And I'm humbled by your feedback. And I am super proud of you for knowing that the sage is right in here. I'm listening to them.
Doing what we can.
Anybody else? Absolutely.
I will echo everything Nina said and then just also add for the folks out there in the cyberverse that in the last several weeks, this crew that you see in front of you has been working on swell strategic planning for the next year. And I think that's been ancestors and the universe imbuing us with good, creative, and decision-making processes. And I feel like we have embodied that over the last several weeks with
Mm,
practice and outcome.
Mm,
so wise, Pat. Thanks for
I
that.
love that. It's kind of like the
Mhm.
best learning, I think, is to be a part of it when it works. Like just feeling what that feels like to actually do true consensus-based decision making around complex stuff. It's like, ooh, I like this. It's a different feeling than, yeah, we won,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
which is a different kind of high. This is a sense of comfort and contentment, I guess. Anyhow, I like that feeling. You got anything, Nick?
Um, it feels complicated. It feels turbulent.
Mm,
There was,
Mhm.
which I won't go into detail here, but folks are really, really almost painfully aware of, lots of ongoing situations in our world. And I had shared this with Emily during a direct conversation that we had, that watching the general public comment on some really tragic events
mm,
is interesting and complicated. It's very
mm-hmm,
complicated, you know.
Mhm.
mm-hmm,
Um and I learn a lot from just being an observer in those spaces as well, about
mm-hmm,
just about how complicated it is, and to degrees I could not have imagined. And so I've been really inviting myself to sit with it and not go down a rabbit hole per se, and
mm-hmm,
figure out the best approach for the empathetic being spirit in me to kind of
mm-hmm,
hold all of that, because the complicated turbulent nature of it can feel really overwhelming really quickly, you know.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
so yeah, I think I just been trying to sort that out kind of for myself, like, and because of the emotions kind of range from one end of the stick to the other, um
mm-hmm.
it feels complicated as a human being. I
Mhm.
guess maybe what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Welcome
And
to life
so,
on Earth.
yeah, and so one day it feels like, oh yeah, that resonates, and then, or even in one moment, and then 10 minutes later, I'm like, but that also resonates, and equally traumatic and damaging, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
perhaps then tying it back to the sage, is this not necessarily a all knowing, but certainly a all feeling kind of thing. And so how do you navigate that, I suppose, so yeah, I don't know if that was a clear answer, but that's as clear as my brain can piece it together to just, yeah, yeah.
It's got me thinking about like a thread that ties it all together. That's like, we learn very early about like the celebration of victory and the agony of defeat, and the natural outcomes, or the further polar ends of those are like tremendous grief and trauma, and tremendous elation and joy and victory dance or whatever, right? And maybe there's something in there about like what we really are aiming for, and like what should be like the inner wisdom is that, like, where's that balance in it, right? Like, where do you find that just centered calm or whatever? And if you're feeling either of these, even though like the joy and victory may feel good in the moment, maybe it's not great because it's out of balance, or I don't know. Anyhow,
Yeah.
maybe I need to further align myself with just the calm and centered middle. I know my own anxieties make me worry that like when I start dipping into just the calm centered whatever, that I'm going to go, because of my history of struggling with depression and stuff, that I might just roll down the hill and get stuck there kind of thing, which feels frightening to me, I think. But
Yeah.
trusting that there's people there to catch me.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Neen?
I read one time that, and I think it can sound like corny at first, but when you think about it, it's actually like a really sweet sentiment. I read once like the suggestion that you like track or take note of like your warning signs of when, and then you like let people who you love know, like, hey, if and when you ever see me doing these things, like, I just want you to know that might be when I need a little tap or like a reach out. And it's actually really refreshing. I think as you get older, I talk with my partner a lot about this stuff, that you really don't have to read people's minds, and it doesn't have to mean that you don't love them. It's really nice to expedite the health process by letting people know like what you need when. And it's cool. Like, it's true. At first it feels like, well, I don't want to have to do that. Shouldn't people be able to like read that? And then it's humbling to remember that, considering everyone has 100 things going on, it might not even be that they don't know, but they genuinely might appreciate the leg up to know what to look for. So if you ever want to share that, I'm definitely someone who would want to hear what that is. So
Totally.
Thanks, Nina.
How about you, Em?
Yeah,
Pat, go ahead.
I just had a little bit of perspective for Emily, because I understand that fear that you're talking about. And we see it playing out in the large scale political sphere with those polarities when one side tries to move towards the other. But like in the thing that you're talking about, it reminds me a lot of like, we just had this conversation yesterday about snorkeling and diving in areas where you're about to move out over where the bottom drops out. And you're buoyant and you have air that's going to pull you to the surface. And maybe you're wearing some weights, but you're like neutral. And then as you go over that space, most people, me for sure, like it feels weird. It's scary because all of a sudden you're aware of that thing way down there that you don't want to go there. And also, we learned this when we were skiing. Like if you're on a ski run and there's a really difficult area over there, it's amazing how if you focus your attention on that ski run, you wind up over there, even though you were trying not to. And so that's like the fear will possibly take you down that slippery slope. But the antidote to fear is trust in the balance. And so it's okay to be in that central space because your innate goodness and all the other support you have around you is going to pull you up out of there. And so then you let go of the fear, and all of a sudden the risk of going down there is much, much lower. And we're here for
Wow.
you.
Well, thank you, as I am for you all. And I'm giggling at the synchronicity game that the ancestors play, because I was literally just having that conversation with Dylan this weekend about, you don't look where you don't want to go, look where you want to go, because you just drift over. We were talking about riding bicycles and driving cars and all those things, and riding horses. We were talking about walking the dog. I think that's where it came. It was like, let's not look at the thing that we're afraid he's going to jump at. Let's just guide him towards whatever. Yeah. How funny. They're so silly. That's the message they want me to have. Thank you for being a vehicle for that, all of you. Okay, let's see what silliness they have waiting for us.
Do it.
This week. We are the visionaries this week, y'all. This is when we're going to be publishing our plan.
Nice for today.
Right? The world is filled with possibilities. We are inventive, expansive, wise, insightful, enthusiastic, curious, courageous, philanthropic, imaginative, knowledgeable, conceptual, inspired, idealistic, benevolent, and humble. I love this. Also, the just sort of random, another little giggle. Jupiter is it has like planetary alignments as well, and Jupiter is going to be like at its brightest this weekend for like years and years and years. It's gonna be super close to us. It's supposed to be like crazy or phenomenally bright. So yeah, I think this is perfect. Yeah, for taking all of our strategic planning into the world.
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure.
Anything else anybody's got on this before we say aloha?
I'm curious, and I'm always curious about some of the shadow aspects. If you have the book to flip through,
I do. I almost do. Chickadoo-doo-doo.
She loves
61. What's that?
She loves a shadow.
I like to be aware of a shadow.
No, I think it's an awesome trait. I'm actually now used to expecting it because we've gotten in that habit.
Helps us to know what to look away from.
Or what to look, there you go.
Right.
Look
Don't
out
look
for
that way.
and
Don't
then
look that way.
And then look away from. What do you got?
This is interesting. When stressed, the visionary is plagued by perfectionism. You focus on the minor details and are not as important to the big picture, and therefore you struggle to bring things to completion. You become overly idealistic and are deluded in trying to measure your efforts against the impossible. Okay. There's more in there. You want me to continue?
Yeah, give it to us.
Yeah. You're a big thinker, but more is not always better. When you are ungrounded and cut off from the divine guidance, this can lead you to expand your ideas to the point of ruin. You can lose money, your vision, even your loved ones. If you find yourself in the shadow of the visionary, your vision is expanding out of control. So take the time you need to get grounded. Reconnect to your greater purpose and ask with real curiosity, what is my next baby step? Once you return to Earth, you can take action to fulfill your vision with integrity. I think this is perfect for what we have to do this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
We tap into divine guidance, wisdom, and knowledge for a higher vision of greater good for the world. We stay committed to bring our vision to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Woo! Who's ready to rock and roll?
Noted, received, ready. Yes.
Right.
Ready to rock.
Thank our live streaming audience.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyone else? Anything to add before we sign off?
Just loud and clear.
Got it.
I'll just acknowledge that it really reminds me of our strategic planning process as we start to truly refine into the actual goals themselves and say, is this what we mean to communicate? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Or it's a maybe, and it's like we edit the goal. I mean, these are a lot of good lessons about let's get something like Pat was saying last week, like these are not only these are tools that are intended to help us, but they're not the end all be all, but also like, let's create goals that work for us and not spin ourselves into a tizzy, but more create a good framework for ourselves. So I'm going to be mindful of like like what's the 95% great versus
Mm-hmm.
spinning at 99% and wondering if
Yep.
it's there. So
Yep.
yeah, I like
All
those.
right.
Shadow was useful.
Cool.
Thank you all.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good week.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Let's see how I stop this here. There we go. I don't have to log off the whole meeting. Huh. Bye, y'all.